So the House has voted to release the Epstein files, but one Republican congressman is saying that he personally doesn't think that Trump is really implicated that much in the files from what he's been privy to. It's actually billionaires, people down in Hollywood, and several other, congressmen and women. But let's check out what he has to say, and we're going to react to it.
And I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who led the effort to release the Epstein files. Congressman Massie, thank you for being here. President Trump fought long and hard to prevent your discharge petition from going through. You won that battle. Now, what happens? How many Republicans in the House follow your lead and defy the president on this?
I think we could have a deluge of Republicans. There could be 100 or more. I'm hoping to get a veto-proof majority on this legislation when it comes up for a vote. And, the president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
I mean, it is extraordinary to hear him demand an investigation and only mention Democrats, only mention his political opponents. But you're saying he may not really even want any investigation. He wants to prevent the release. Why does he want to prevent this? What is he afraid of?
I've never said that these files will implicate Donald Trump. And I really don't think that they will. I think he's trying to protect a bunch of rich and powerful friends, billionaires, donors to his campaign, friends in his social circles. And that's my operating theory on why he's trying so hard to keep these files closed.
What do you think is actually in these files? I mean, we've seen so much Epstein material, from the criminal cases, the stuff that just came out this week, from the estate. What do you think is left?
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names, or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites that are implicated in these files, according to the survivors.
The president.
See, here's the thing, right? And this is one thing that I learned or that I saw in the street. When people get access to a lot of money, things change, right? So, like, just a few people that I know in the street. I got one in mind in particular. This guy was getting crazy money in the street, and started off, had a girlfriend, smoking weed. But then once you get a lot of money and power, it goes from smoking weed to snorting cocaine and having two to three girlfriends at the same time. Then it goes from cocaine to LSD to having 5 to 10 girlfriends at one time. Like, for some people, when it comes to the money and the power, the high isn't enough. They have to go higher and higher and higher. So just imagine, right? If anybody out there, I'm just using weed as an example. Anybody that's ever smoked weed before, if you smoke the same batch of weed, the same strain over and over, at some point, it's not as potent. It's almost like you're not even high anymore because your body has adjusted to it. That's how a lot of these people are. And again, my wife is in the industry, so I've seen these things on different levels. My wife is in the television industry. So it's like, they're always, like, just think about it. You had $1 billion. You're going to go rock climbing, skydiving. You're going to buy a helicopter. You're going to reach the highest high. And it's like, damn, you got $1 billion. It probably takes about a year and a half to do everything, to try everything in every country. And then it's like, okay, now what's the next high? And that's what happens with a lot of these people. That's why they end up in stuff like this, is because they're chasing the next high, because they've done everything. Just ask yourself as a male, if you have 10 women in your bedroom every night, You're going to get bored at some point. Even if you go and get a new set of 10 women, it's like, okay, this is boring. Like, what's the next thing? What do you think the next thing is? Right? Like you're either going to be gay or you're going to chase a bunch of little girls. That's how this thing goes. That's why when you see these guys get all this money, they start doing crazy shit. And I know Elon is the richest guy in the world. We haven't seen anything too crazy on him, but what did he go do? He just went around the world, started knocking women up. Like, fuck it, I'm about to just start getting a whole bunch of women pregnant. I ain't never done that before, right? Let me try to send a rocket to the moon. So it's like the next high to the next high. Like, damn, I'm about to go live on Mars. So when it comes to these powerful people, once they get power, they do everything. It's almost like if you grew up in one area your whole life, it's like, I'm tired of being here. I want to experience, another state, another country. And then once you move, you experience that for a little while. It's like, I'm bored again. So it's like a never ending just high. It's like they're just searching for that next high. And that's unfortunate. And it doesn't happen to everyone. But it happens to a percentage of people that get access to this type of power and to this type of money. And I've seen it before. And it's very similar to what this is. That's why, it's always weird. Like, why do these powerful people, eat other human beings? Why do they, get involved in pedophilia? Like, why do they, like, it's because they're chasing the next high. And it never ends for the majority of them.
The president has gone after you in some deeply personal ways. I mean, attacking you over and over again, even attacking you for regarding your wedding, your recent wedding, which, by the way, congratulations. What do you make of all that? And he's obviously supporting your primary opponents. I mean, what kind of retribution are you facing?
My wife told me, she said, "I told you so. We should have invited Donald Trump. He's mad that he didn't get an invitation." So we're taking it with a grain of salt. He's being a bully or trying to be a bully. And they're trying to beat me here in Kentucky. But here's what's interesting. The people financing this campaign consist completely of 3 billionaires, and they're all in the Epstein class. In fact, one of them is named in Epstein's phone book, not the secret files that the FBI is keeping, but in Epstein's phone book. So it's a small world. Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning. I'm not tired of winning yet, but we are winning. And not only the speaker, but the attorney general, the FBI director, and the president himself and the vice president, they're taking a big loss this week because after months of fighting, I am winning this week with Ro Khanna. We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement, but in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
Now, I've talked to Senate leadership who tell me that this is almost certainly not even going to be brought up for a vote in the Senate. What's your sense on that? I mean, I guess if there's an overwhelming vote, like you said, 100 Republicans join all the Democrats, the pressure will be immense. But do you have any sense the Senate's even going to vote on this?
Well, they don't have the procedural maneuver that Ro Khanna and I used in the House. They don't have that in the Senate. It's called a discharge petition. But the senators do have other ways to force votes, as amendments, for instance, on larger bills in order to let bills move quicker through the chamber. So they could force the vote in spite of the leadership's efforts. I just hope John Thune will do the right thing. Look, our own speaker tried to push this bill by unanimous consent last week within 15 minutes of me getting the 218th vote because he was trying to save people from a vote. If he's ready to pass it by unanimous consent, then the Senate leader should be as well. Just bring it up. But the pressure's going to be there if we get a big vote in the House.
All right, Congressman Thomas Massie, thank you for joining us this morning.
And they did get a big vote in the House. So for a lot of people that don't know, everybody in the House voted for it except for one guy. Check his browsing history.